All right, we are back once again. Are we in week 3? Yes, we are in week 3. I tell you, after the Buckeyes get their butt stomped, I have no idea what room I'm in anymore. And I say that with tongue in cheek. I don't think they got their butt stomped, but they got manhandled by a better team. They lost by 7 points. So here we are, week 3, college football corner. Fletch and Randy, how you doing, big guy?
Doing well. It was
Awesome.
a big week this week in college football.
Oh yeah, a lot of really good games. This is really turning out to be a nice looking season so far. And looking ahead, man, I tell you what, this might be one season to remember when it's all said and done, regardless of who went hoist the trophy. But good games, and of course, this week is no different. So some of the topics I want to talk about real quick. Obviously, I led off with what happened to the Buckeyes. Honestly, I wasn't too shocked by the game with these, knowing that they got a lot of young people, right? A lot of young talent. And, just because you get big talent, sometimes they don't always pan out. Zach Harrison's a 5-star defensive end. He's been there. He's in his 3rd year. He needs to step up. Jack Sawyer is a freshman, so he's doing his best. They just got a lot of young talent, and they didn't play very well. They didn't execute the scheme. A lot of people want to fire the defensive coordinator, but he's not out there losing battles one-on-one. It's the execution,
Right.
I think. So, and all said and done, they still had a chance to tie the game twice and didn't get it done. So I don't think it's a fire sale yet at Ohio State, but they got a couple weeks to get things looking better on paper because they're playing what should be lesser talent. That's no offense to Tulsa and Akron, and then they go to Rutgers, which doesn't look like a bad game on paper, but Shiano, he can make life
Yeah.
rough for you. So
Yeah.
we will see what happens. Buckeyes got things they got to take care of. There's no doubt. So I think it looks good for the Pac-12. UCLA beats LSU. Oregon goes to the shoe, beats Ohio State. Stanford just took USC to the woodshed. That was amazing.
Yeah.
You see how many of those picks I won from last week? I should have put some money on that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You had some good picks. I was I miss them. I was actually really surprised. You said you weren't surprised by the Oregon win. I was really shocked, to be honest with you. I
Yeah,
thought them coming all the way across the country, playing in Ohio State's backyard, that I didn't really think they had much of a chance. I wouldn't say it wouldn't be a close game, but I didn't think they had much of a chance to beat the Buckeyes. And then the fact that they were probably missing possibly the best defensive player in the country
right.
and a couple other defensive players too. It really, you can't take anything away from Oregon
Oh,
from
not at
what
all.
they did. But I
Yeah,
was
not at
I was
all.
really I was really surprised.
A couple years ago, the Buckeyes had a really good defense. They had 2 shutdown corners. They're both in the NFL. They had some good safeties. Fuller, he's a starting safety captain of the Rams now. Jeff Halfley was in there, and those guys are playing great, but he didn't really do great recruiting. That's why he was only here like 1 year. And the cupboard became pretty bare after last season, and even before that, it was even more cumbersome, so to speak. So, and then the 2 corners we got, Seven Banks, and I can't remember the other guy's name. They haven't even played yet, and those are the only returning starters we got. So, it's still you got 4 and 5-star talent, 3 or 4 5-star talent on the Buckeyes, so you expect them to play better, but they are young and inexperienced. And then on the line, guys like the Bosa brothers, Chase Young, the guys in the middle, Landers, he was a disruptor, a Togia, a disruptor. Hey, I literally watched on purpose the line of scrimmage on both those games the Buckeyes played, and they're not winning a lot of battles. And you and I both talk about it. If you can't establish a line of scrimmage, it's going to be a long day for you, no matter who you are. Especially if you're playing a team that is doing something. And make no mistake, Oregon was they had a great scheme. That guy had a scheme, and they executed to perfection. And the Buckeyes couldn't figure it out until it was a little bit too late, and they had a couple of chances to tie it. Who knows what would have happened if they did? Because they
All right.
never really had control of that game. They just didn't. So
No, no.
they got
You
to
know,
get
and
better in a hurry.
I almost kind of think that it seemed to me that Oregon kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit too, there towards the end, and almost let much like Ohio State did to Indiana last year. You know,
Right.
Pretty good control of the game. But then you got to play it all the way through 60 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't, man, a team will just get right back in it. And
Yep.
I'm not taking anything away from Ohio State coming back, because I mean,
Oh no.
they did what they did. But I see that in college football, especially that that they get a decent lead and they think, okay, we're okay here, we're going to run the ball, we're going to kill the clock. All of a sudden, a couple 3-and-outs, and
Right.
hey, we got a ball game.
Oh yeah. We talk a lot about replacements of coaches and players on a year-to-year basis, especially with the big teams. And you got to really. I heard many numbers on Bama this week. 31 straight against the SEC East. They've won 31 straight.
Yeah.
We know what their non-conference records like. I think under Nick Saban, I can't remember the number. I want to say it was. It's probably not 90. It's a huge number. How many times he's run Alabama out of the tunnel as the number one team in the league? It might be 90 actually. It was a huge number. It was insane. You know what? It was 90 because the next one is 40 something.
Right.
You got to give your hats to him. No matter what's happening, he's making sure he's getting players and coaches in there, and he's getting them ready to play. And they've come to expect it. They're going to the swamp this weekend. A lot of people are, hey, maybe this is it, and maybe it is. But you expect, Bama to show up and play hard. And when they lose, they don't lose by much. And if whenever it does happen, it's like the one game against Clemson for the national championship was probably one of their biggest losses of all their losses in the last 10 years. And it wasn't that huge of a loss, but they don't lose by much when they lose. That's during games, but. So there's not many other teams, if any, that can do that. Even Clemson, looked a little clunky in their first game, and we haven't seen them play a formidable foe yet. So we got weeks to see on that. Same with Ohio State. Same with UCLA. They did well against LSU. So we'll see how they go up against. When they play you at Oregon, that'll be a really interesting game. UCLA and Oregon. So. So this week, let's get to this week because we got some awesome football coming up. Let's see here. Okay. We also wanted to mention about Iowa because Iowa's number 5 in the AP poll. They've got this is no lie. I think they got 123 yards of total offense or something in both games combined or something. They have no offense. They're ball control, tough defense, grind it out. That can work. It's an awful hard way. It's a longer road to hoe when you do that. And if you get down early, Iowa's get down 14, 21 points by somebody, they're probably not coming back because they're just not built to do that. So watching that team go through the season will be interesting. I would hesitate to put them up at 5, but if you just go by what's happened this year, they have beat 2 ranked teams, Indiana and Iowa State was a road game. So that's a good win. So, but it'll be interesting to see what the Hawkeyes do moving forward. So let's get to our games. The first game up on the slate, I think, is a great one. I'm taking Cincinnati in this. I really am, and I'm like the Big Ten, but I think Luke Fickell's got that team rolling. I think IU is still on a hangover from what happened at Iowa, and so I'm going to take Cincinnati in this. And now I think Luke's charged that they're going to the Big 12. That's probably just going to keep him, in the Cincinnati area instead of trying to. I don't think he was ever going to go to USC anyways. But yeah. So that's what I got there. So hey, Bruce Porter wants to know if is that Randy? I got to change that color scheme. I don't know what that is, but so Bruce is with us. He's our guy. So what do you think about this UC-IU game? How do you see it?
Oh, I think I'm going with Cincinnati also. Indiana's got off to a rough, I think they got off to a rough start. Cincinnati last week, they started kind of slow, but they got going. So
yeah,
that was a good thing. I don't know if they can start that slow against Indiana, but I'm still taking Cincinnati in that game.
Yeah, if IU can look completely different, then this might be a decent game after all. Like you said, UC playing slow and stuff. UC after this game's got a bye week, and then they go to Notre Dame. So they're probably not looking ahead because it's a bye week away from the Irish. But talk about two tough back-to-back road games, going to Indiana and then to Notre Dame. So that's a gauntlet there for the Bearcats, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So what we got next here? Oh, let's not do that one yet. Michigan State going all the way down south to Hard Rock to play the U. And they got a transfer running back from Wake Forest, and he's got 400-something yards of running already in 2 games. They beat now I'm drawing a blank who Michigan State. So I think they beat one decent team and one not so decent team. So it's going to be interesting to see. But Mel Tucker has them looking good. And the question is, with Miami getting, boat raced by Bama in the week 1, they didn't look all that great against App State, and they pulled out the win. They were at home. But a lot of people are picking Sparty, and I think I'm going to jump on that bandwagon and take them as well. I love upsets, man. I love upsets are great.
Yeah, I mean, would that be an upset really though?
Well, and as far as Sparty's not ranked, and somehow Miami is still like 25 or 24 or something. That's pretty
I don't
credible.
know why.
Yeah, AP ranking. It's like okay, so I don't think a road game maybe an upset, but no, I think personally. No, I don't think it would be an upset. I think it's probably just almost like a pick 'em who wins it. I don't think anybody should have a huge favor in this game. That's for sure. So, okay, we got Tulsa and Ohio State. I know we're both going to take the Buckeyes in this one, right?
Yeah, Ohio State. We kind of talked about it a little bit the other day when you and I were talking. Their next 5 games, I think, are pretty easy for Ohio State. Obviously you got to play the game. You got to show up. But it's a good thing for them to build confidence because they should do well against. They got Tulsa, then they got Akron, they got Rutgers, they got Maryland, and then Indiana before they match up with Penn State. So
right.
And they got about 5 games here that they shouldn't have a big problem winning. So that we'll see what happens, obviously, but. I told you this the other day. As soon as they win those 5 games, most of the Ohio State people will be screaming, "We should be in the top 4."
Oh yeah, I won't be one of them because I was just going to mention with you saying all that. If they run the table to Penn State, it'll show me 2 things. One, they've done what we figured they should do, and they're playing better football, albeit against lesser talent, than Oregon for sure, and maybe even Minnesota because that was a tough road game, but Oregon for sure. So what really comes down to is when they play Penn State and what does Penn State look like? Because Penn State is playing a big game tomorrow night at home whiteout against Auburn. If Penn State somehow is undefeated when they meet the Buckeyes, now that becomes supremacy for the East. And who's going to take the driver's seat and move forward? Forget CFP and rankings. Who's going to take because the East is probably going to win the Big Ten. No guarantee in that. You never know what happens, but more than likely, it's probably going to win the Big Ten. It's going to be between them 2 and maybe Michigan State. Does a dark horse, but Penn State and Ohio State. So, yeah, and I think I have that right here. Might as well good transition to that. This game looks awesome. I am going to be glued to the TV. I don't know what to think of Auburn. I really don't know what to think of Penn State. So I just think this is going to be a fantastic environment, crazy fans, the whiteout, and flip the coin and let's just go play football and see what happens.
Yeah, Penn State being at home, that's one of the toughest places in the country to go play. So, that's going to benefit them huge. Auburn, we really don't. I mean, they've looked impressive, the first 2 weeks scoring all kinds of points, but they haven't really played anybody. So That'll be interesting. But I do think that Auburn is on the upswing now. They got a new coach in there. They seem to be playing with a lot more enthusiasm and intent than what I've seen them play in the last couple of years. And but they're always a dangerous team.
Yeah, I was listening to the radio this morning. Holly Rowe from ESPN or somebody she's covering the game, in the crowd, and she was saying she was watching Auburn. It just seemed like there was a lot more of she didn't say military, but she was like saying the coach is saying something, and then all the players are saying yes, sir. And when he didn't hear it the way he wanted to hear it, he's like, so it's no crack on Gus Malzahn or anything. but we know Auburn's got players. They always have players. They're always going to be. So if they can play a good game, they're always going to be a tough out. And it just seems like you're saying this new coach has them playing together really good, and that's bonkers for football. So this will be a great test for them going Big Ten. What they say, the first time Auburn has been to the Big Ten road games since 1931. That is crazy.
I didn't know it. I didn't know it had been that long, but yeah,
I heard it on
that is crazy.
Guy I really like, Mark Packer. Billy Packer's son. He does satellite radio, and he could fit well on our show because anybody starts saying, "Who do you like in the CFP?" He just shuts them all down. He goes, "I don't like anybody. I'm watching the games this week." But
yeah. This one here is going to be really interesting. I'm like you. I'm looking forward to seeing this. I want to know about Penn State, a little bit more about them, and what I could look forward to moving forward with Ohio State coming up, and then Auburn, of course, obviously got an interest in Auburn, what they're going to look like because we have the Iron Bowl, but so I'll be watching that game. It'll be interesting if Auburn can come out and get it going quickly. Of course, settle that crowd down just a little bit.
Right.
Of course, they're going to have a whole lot better chance. But, if Penn State comes out and gets a break, a turnover or something, look out. The floodgates may be open then.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't think that Penn State has, like a Saquon Barkley type guy, which bodes well for Auburn, somebody that's just a game breaker. So they might be relying on their classic tough defense, hard-nosed football, and whatever they can do on offense. And I know that Auburn has a running back that they really like. Actually, I think I got a couple of them. One's a freshman, but if it might be a defensive struggle. Yeah, it's going to be a great game. I'll take a defensive struggle. That's no bother to me. I don't need 50 to 49. I just need good football. So, but a lot of SEC West is going to be watching this game because they want to know what they got to do to prepare. If Auburn goes up there and let's just say they just stomp them, then that puts everybody in the SEC West on notice, so to speak. Hey, this team's ready, and here comes the rest of the season. And then obviously if Penn State is still really good moving forward, then that means it was a great win. So a lot of interesting eyeballs, and same thing for the Big Ten East. We'll be looking at this game to see what Penn State does against the big team, and Auburn what they do against the big team. So. Great game. I saw this on the schedule, and I was like, oh, yeah, whiteout. This has got to be the whiteout, and it is. So what a scene that's going to be.
I heard that Auburn is wearing all white. White helmets, white jerseys, white pants.
I did hear that. And have they ever done that? Or maybe not in a long time?
I don't know that they – well, I mean, they do have the white jerseys with the the things on the sleeves and that. I don't know what this all white thing is really all about. Or are they just wearing their white jerseys? I don't know. But I found it kind of interesting. But see, Auburn don't they have what, that Tank Billingsley or something? They got Tank the running back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to be something. So I'm kind of looking forward to see how good he is too.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be really interesting to see what the offense looks like because I don't think this guy runs the typical Gus Malzahn offense. We know what Gus Malzahn do. I heard him say that he's making Bo Nix a better quarterback, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Great game. I'm totally looking forward to it. My first thought when I heard that they're going to wear all white was they're going to do that so psychologically the whiteout's for them. I don't know if that's what it is or not, but it sounds interesting that they're wearing all white when it's a whiteout. Like it's almost like they're saying, "Hey, we don't care," So, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this game just about as much as I am looking forward to. I want to see the Buckeyes play great and beat the snot out of Tulsa. Alabama, Georgia is the other one that's on the slate. And
Alabama, Florida.
I'm sorry, Georgia. Yeah, Florida for different reasons. Still, and this is a 3:30 game. I think is that correct?
It is 3:30.
Yeah. This one's going to be it's just a highly interesting game. Can Florida look like they can stay with Alabama for 4 quarters? Can Alabama play good against what is probably the best defense so far, this year? And I don't know how good that is, actually. Much better last year and the year before, but hey, it is what it is, Alabama was better last year, too, so it's not like, So, yeah, this is, Saban, get the guys, get them all motivated to go on the road, go in the swamp, hostile environment, and that place gets pretty nuts. And they got some quarterback problems in Florida, which I think could be the downfall. I don't know which way they're going. I don't know if you've heard anything about if they're going with, the Emory Jones guy. They like Richardson, but boy, I'd hate to be my first start to be at home against Alabama, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, one of them has been nursing an injury.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one, but
I think it's
they
Richardson.
talk about. Yeah, I think it might be, but I was looking. Both of them big guys. The type of quarterback that gives Alabama trouble. And, Alabama fans have been spoiled over the years with the exception of 19, but they still had two very close games that year with Auburn and LSU.
Right.
So, this Florida thing, I mean, it's going to happen sooner or later. I mean, somebody's going to get them. Florida has recruited with them the last 3 years, especially in 18 and 19. Florida was right there in recruiting, so those guys are now, juniors. I guess that's the way it would work out, juniors or seniors. But
right.
This game has got it's got upset written all over it, in my opinion. Dan Mullen, pretty sharp guy. I know he's going to have something going on, and they got the dual threat quarterbacks as always gave Alabama problems. So, and then it's at home for Florida, and like I said, somebody's going to get them sooner or later. I really don't see them going undefeated this year. I don't know if it's Florida. I don't know if it's Georgia. I don't know if I don't know who it is.
Right.
But the schedule is really brutal, and this could be a dandy of a game here. So it'll be interesting to watch, and I'm really interested in watching the Alabama quarterback because he looked pretty good that first game, and then last week I didn't think he looked all that great myself. He finished decent, but when he got started, he got off to a slow start too, and was missing a lot of things. And I'm thinking, I don't know, I wasn't impressed with him last year, so. This is going to be a statement game for me personally, watching Bryce Young play.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm not completely sure on what the Florida team completely looks like. The last couple of years, they just looked really good. That couple of years ago when they played that game with LSU, the defense was just nuts on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not the team they were. So what is Florida? I keep saying Georgia. What does Florida got to do to have a chance for Alabama? I think personally, and this is just an opinion, when you're playing at home, score early, get the crowd into it, and then try to get after that quarterback and make him have to make quick decisions and not get comfortable in the pocket. He looked real comfortable against Miami, and it looked like it because he just put up some big numbers. But it wasn't so much last week against Mercer. But me personally, I think that's the type of game where the guys didn't get up quite for it like they would the bigger game. And maybe the coaches do a little different things, thinking they've got it's like a play week. And sometimes when you're playing down to a lesser opponent, so to speak.
Teams tend to play to the competition level that they're facing.
Right.
They really do. You see that all the time. But like I said, this is going to be. If I was Florida, I would say, hey, you got the 5-star. Number 1 ranked guy, show me.
Right.
Right. I would make him beat me.
Oh yeah, yep. I agree. So that's gonna if we got eat lunch and watch Ohio State kill Tulsa, and then big game at 3:30, and then big game tomorrow night too. So lots of really good football.
7:30 is that Auburn Penn State game.
Oh, is it 7:30? Okay, yep.
Yeah.
And
7:30.
And Notre Dame is playing sometime tomorrow against, oh boy, I heard it, and now I can't remember, Purdue. And funny thing about that game is, anybody knows anything about Purdue, if you've ever seen the video, they got this 10-foot bass drum. It's the world's largest bass drum. And Notre Dame's not letting them bring it in the stadium. They're saying it can't fit down the tunnel. It could fit down the Notre Dame tunnel, but they won't let them do it.
Oh.
So a lot of bickering about that. That could be bulletin board material for the football team.
Could.
You never know. So yeah. So let's see here. I got Army. Okay, we talked about all the teams. Oh yeah, some other notable games. Virginia Tech looked real good against North Carolina, first game of the year. They're good. They're traveling to West Virginia.
They did.
I think that's a decent looking game. Virginia is also they dismantled somebody last week, or was it Penn? I can't remember. Here's my daughter. Okay. So they're Virginia's going to North Carolina, and that's going to be a tough North Carolina to hold on. Hey, babe. Okay, let me go. Come on, go. Not now. All right. Sorry, folks. So. Yeah, Virginia's playing at North Carolina. That's Virginia was a tough out last week for somebody, and Emma, go. All right. Tomorrow's their birthday. As you can see, there's balloons everywhere. There's a big party going on, and she got a Sonic Hedgehog.
She getting wound
stuffy. Oh man, yeah, she won't sleep tonight. That's for sure. So, as I was saying, Virginia played. I just can't remember. My mind's blank who it was last week, and they. I want to say they ran all over somebody. I mean, so they're playing North Carolina. North Carolina is looking at maybe a second loss, and if they get that, then it's a down year for them. They were expected to be contending for the title against Clemson. And I don't know if that's going to happen. They lose that one. Arizona State and BYU ranked teams, and then I have UCLA is playing Fresno. That's the team that Oregon just beat the week before the Buckeyes. So that's kind of a common opponent there that they'll have before UCLA and Oregon play each other later in the year. So some really good games coming up. Tomorrow. There's no doubt. And Alabama and Florida, great game, and then obviously Penn State and Auburn. Fantastic. So I want to make sure all my topics. My mind is mush right now. So yeah. No, Cincinnati, Indiana. That was and Michigan State. I need like 4 or 5 TVs to watch all this at one time. Do you have 4 or 5 TVs at your place?
Do I have what?
4 or 5 TVs to watch all these games at the same time?
Oh no, I don't. I'd get confused. I get confused watching the one TV I got.
So we obviously you're going to be watching the Alabama game and the Auburn Penn State game, and you'll be mowing the grass and checking in on the score of the Ohio State game, I'm sure.
Yeah, actually, I mowed the grass tonight because I knew what was coming tomorrow.
There you go.
Yeah, but again, I would not be surprised at all if Florida wins that game. Like I said, I'm a big Alabama fan and have been since 1970, and I just kind of feel it coming. I don't know when, but they're young. Much like you were talking about Ohio State. They're young. I mean, their defense is better, but I still think there's some questions offensively. So, it'd be interesting to see how those are answered.
Oh yeah. It's one thing that Saban has seen to do over the years is if something's not working, they go to something else. If they're not going to pass, they run. They're going to run, they pass, but the execution and then the defense usually keeps them in games. And so I think if they struggle on offense, I think their defense can play well enough against Florida to keep them in the game to where they can figure it out and then maybe pull away. So or they boat race them because Florida's defense isn't that good. I don't know which one we're going to see. I personally don't think Florida's going to win, but I don't disagree with you. It's going to happen at some point. Every year, I think this is the year Ohio State's going to lose to Michigan because I lived through the Cooper years where we always lost to Michigan, and it still stings. Even though we've owned them since Tressel came there, it still stings, even though we've only lost twice since then. But you know what's going to happen. You just can't win them all. Someday it's just going to happen. So hopefully it's not this year. I'm sure you feel the same way. So. Yeah,
no, I watched. That's another thing. I watched Michigan last week, late game.
Washington.
And I mean, they ran the football. They ran like 60 times and passed like 12.
Right.
Something like that. So I'm like, some of the things that we talked about, the offensive coordinators, the offenses, are we going to see a shutdown defense? And, we talked about that. And I made the comment, I don't know if we will. And so far this season, we've seen really a lot of defense from a
Certain
lot of the
teams.
teams.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, really surprising. I mean, you can look at Iowa, look at Alabama, look at Georgia, Clemson. Teams are playing defense, and it's not what I thought. We saw the 10-7 game, and we are seeing a little bit lower scoring games.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it'd be interesting to me. Does it get opened up again, and we start seeing the 50-40 games, or is it going to continue that the defense has caught up with the offense? And I don't think that's going to be. I don't think that's going to be the answer long term when we get towards the end. I still think the offenses are favored
Yep.
because of the rules, because of a lot of things, and just like anything else, when one guy figures out one thing, well, we're going to change it and do this. So,
Right.
I see it going back and forth, but I have been impressed with the defenses and what we've seen so far.
Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy year on that regard, especially compared to the last 2 years where some teams have just been lighting it up, lights out, and now, especially against good opponents. Yeah, Auburn put 62 in a row, but I don't think those teams were anything. And Washington, who Michigan played last week and beat, I think they lost to Montana the week before. So I don't know how good they are. I did see a big thing about Michigan where Harbaugh came into this year and said, I don't care about the spread and all this other stuff. We're running the football, and they're committed to tight ends and running. And that, if you can do that and control, yeah, you can win games. It's just you're not going to blow anybody out. It's not going to be 45-0 unless you get some turnovers or whatever. It's going to be 21-3, 28-10, which are great wins, and you're dominating the clock, dominating the play. And so I don't think that's a bad recipe. It's just hard to do. When under Tressel, Jim Heacock was the defensive coordinator for most of the time, and that's what he loved to do: keep everything in front of you, nothing over the top, tough defense, flip the field, punt, and kind of do the field position game. But Buckeyes always had trouble in those years against the spread. Team come up with 3, 4, 5 wide receivers, and we because that style of defense doesn't dictate the covering all those receivers. So it's a cat and mouse game. Who's going to do what with what?
Yeah. Well, one thing, I don't see that Michigan has. Maybe they do have the great offensive line. I really don't know. But they don't have the running back. We've seen Ohio State do it with Elliott. We've seen Alabama do it with Derrick Henry. And a few backs that they've had. I don't know that. I don't know that I've seen Michigan do that. I mean, the one guy I've seen that ran kind of wild, just a real small guy.
Yeah.
And so when they get up against an Ohio State, a Penn State, some of the better teams in the Big Ten, I'm not really sure that that's going to work.
I don't disagree. You really got to have some serious players. A few years ago, and that was when Ohio State beat Michigan in overtime. Michigan was undefeated, and they were highly ranked. And then winner of that game was going to win the Big Ten and probably go to the CFP. And Ohio State ended up doing it. But, Michigan had that defense, but they just didn't have the offense for it, And, of course, Ohio State was J.T. Barrett offense, so that was a dogfight to overtime. So, yeah, it seems the trend the last so many years has gone to wide open, throw it all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
And just try to outscore teams and play decent good defense, figuring that most college quarterbacks aren't going to be able to throw it that many times and not make mistakes and throw interceptions and capitalize when they do. And that's what the good teams have done. Teams like Clemson and LSU 1 year, Alabama multiple years, they capitalize on mistakes, and they just the year the Ohio State won it, that was just kind of a weird year. They lost to Virginia Tech. They're on a backup quarterback. They ran the table on their third-string quarterback, and then their defense just came out of nowhere, destroyed Wisconsin, and it was just an anomaly. That was just weird, a weird. And Elliott ran wild for 3 games. The guy was unstoppable, And I watched the replay of a game from that season. It was they were 5-0. They just beat Penn State, I think. And the starting running back for Ohio State was Curtis Samuel. Elliott was on the bench, and he was, he's the guy later in the year that ends up taking him to the national championship, basically, from the running back standpoint. So, but yeah, it really just seems like a team like that's built like that. When they go up against a much better offense that's going to spread them out, they're going to have trouble. And then they end up getting down and they can't score. They'll probably have better talent than Iowa does, but Iowa typically, this looks like one of their years where they're playing great football for them, and they'll be a tough out, but they'll fall short. They'll maybe get to the Big Ten championship game, but probably lose it. But who knows?
Yeah, they're in the East.
They're in the West. Yeah, so they'll probably.
They're in the West.
Yeah. Iowa right now is a favorite in the West because of they got basically it's them and Wisconsin, and every 2-3 years it's Northwestern. So
yeah, Ohio State doesn't play Iowa, do they?
No, they play Purdue, but they don't play Iowa. If they do play them, they'll play them in the championship game if they make it. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you one of the other things that we haven't seen, and maybe the guy's out there, maybe he's not. But, we're not seeing the Joe Burrow and Mac Jones that we've seen the last 2 years. Those guys were lights out throwing the ball and were so deadly accurate that, they were literally unstoppable. I mean, nobody stopped them. There's a couple of teams that stayed up with them and made some interesting games, but nobody stopped them. So, I don't think that we've seen that guy yet. And like I said, I'm not saying that he's not out there. They talk about the guy from North Carolina and, some other the guy from Oklahoma. Maybe that guy's out there. But if he is, we haven't seen him yet, in my opinion.
I'll tell you, there's one guy that I'm interested in trying to watch if I can, probably on the replay or something. I heard them talking about him on the Mark Packer show, college football today, and it's I believe I can't remember who it was that kind of rated who the best quarterback right now is as far as gameplay and stuff. And it was a unanimous decision by whoever was doing it. And I think it was people on Mark Packer's staff. It wasn't like writers or anything. And it was the quarterback for Virginia. I can't remember the guy's name, but I guess this guy is playing incredible football. Now it's not Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, all over the place. So, but the fact that they're talking about him, it makes me more interested in seeing who is this guy, and maybe he's more of a Mac Jones, where he's playing great football, but he's not like Burrow, but he's going to be a great NFL player. I think Mac Jones would be a fantastic NFL player. I really do. I thought that as soon as he took over for Tua, I thought, hey, this guy's pretty good. I've said it before. So, but think of all the quarterbacks that have gone to the NFL in the last couple of years. It's just a mass exodus. Some of them maybe not deservedly so, but other ones absolutely, deservedly so. So now we're stuck with a lot of young quarterbacks all across, the country, especially amongst the bigger schools. I mean, it's Bo Nix probably the senior leader quarterback in the SEC as far as still sticking around compared to everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, they've been waiting for Bo Nix it seems like he's been there forever. So
he's on a second tour.
I don't know. Yeah, it seems like it. Hey, Bo Nix has been the quarterback for Auburn for the last 10 years. I don't know.
Right.
It seems like he's just been around for a long time. So, like I said, and not only that, me making the statement, we haven't seen that quarterback yet, but we're not going to see a quarterback with 7 or 8 first-round draft picks along with him to help his cause. Because to be honest, there's not a team out there like that, like we've seen LSU and then Alabama, the last 2 years. So that part of it we're not going to see. But
I agree.
The guy that can step up and take over a game, that's who I'm looking for.
Yeah, I wondered if it was going to be Oklahoma's Spencer Rattler, but one thing with the media is they just love to throw out the next name a little early sometimes, hype it up, and I'm not saying the guy's not a talent. I'm sure he's a talent. You wouldn't be there if you weren't a talent. But I haven't seen what Joe Burrow showed us. I haven't seen what even Tua, coming in late, even Jalen Hurts when he was there, or even Murray before him. So, yeah, the guy that comes in and just dominates the game, I can't think of anybody right now out of the 2 weeks so far of this season. So like I said, maybe somebody is there, but he's not going to be surrounded by a an NFL team like LSU was. That was just that was a perfect storm. Everything happened there for 1 year. Everybody came in, won it, and everybody left. I mean,
well, they did, and they had two shutdown corners. I mean, they had everything that they needed. They had a running back that could keep everything honest, and they had a quarterback that had an unbelievable year.
Oh yeah.
And so I mean, it was it was the perfect storm for them, and that all those guys are gone now, and and they had great recruiting. So I mean, talking about LSU a little bit here,
right.
they had great recruiting, but I mean, so far, I don't know how that's working out. It doesn't seem to be working out all that great so far. But there's a lot of football to go. So that's another team that'll be interesting as the year goes on.
Yeah, it's a shame to me, and I think you probably agree because we both seem to be a little more traditionalist. I like Ed Orgeron. He seems like a nice guy. He seems like a good coach. Okay, he lost to UCLA. Well, now they're like, oh, he's a couple more weeks and he's back on the hot seat. Give the guy a break. He just won a national championship. He's recruiting good. They're winning. Let a guy stick around for a while. I give Kentucky all the credence in the world for Bob Stoops' brother. I can't remember his first name. He's been there for a real long time, and he's building a culture. They'll probably never win the SEC, but you know what? They're a tough out every year. Kentucky surprises everybody, and I've been down to Kentucky games probably 20 years ago when I went with a buddy, and they were horrible. There were one game they were up on Tennessee and by like 14 points at halftime, and my friend, who's a UK fan, said, if we win this game, those goalposts are coming down. I guarantee you. They're going to march them right downtown. And of course they didn't win. Tennessee came back. That's back when they had Dante Stallworth. This was a long time ago. But let guys stick
they're
around.
A basketball team,
right?
Yeah,
right.
they're a basketball team. They just, they've been recently coming on as a football team a little bit more and more. But for all those years prior to that, anybody said University of Kentucky, North Carolina also. It was basketball.
Oh, and Duke, absolutely. The ACC is a basketball conference mostly, reputation-wise, but Clemson's kind of like turned into a perennial great program, and they're trying to drag some other teams with them. There's no doubt. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. There's two games that are considered what are they called, the SAT Bowls. Stanford's playing at Vanderbilt, and Northwestern's playing at Duke. So the combined SAT scores and knowledge and brain power in those two games. There's a lot of CEOs are yet to come out. They're going to come out. None of those guys who are on the pro, they're all going to be making more money than anybody else. But,
that's true.
So you interested in talking about USC's head coaching position at all?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what we can really talk about, to be honest with you. I mean, there's, who would I go after? I honestly don't know. They got a lot of hype over the guy from Penn State.
Yeah,
I'm hearing his name a lot. And Eric
Bieniemy. Yeah, he
was
OC at Kansas City, offensive coordinator of the Chiefs. Yeah,
everybody's pretty high on him. So
I think he played.
I don't know.
He played at Colorado. I remember his name in college football. He played for the Buffaloes. I know that. One of the topics outside of who is it going to be is USC still an excellent program to be the head coach of? And, I've heard arguments on both sides. One is, they stink. They're so bad. It's going to take forever to bring them back. And other people saying, hey, it's still USC. If the right guy goes there, you can recruit. There's no doubt in my mind if Nick Saban took that job, I'm not saying he will. I know he won't. Let's say he takes that job. I'm not saying he'll win a national championship. He might, but he'll definitely recruit because he's Nick Saban. The recruits will follow him there. Urban Meyer, same. Urban Meyer's not going. He just got to Jacksonville. He's going to stick around there for a while. So a good name can do it. Now, is there a good name to do it? That remains to be seen. Another argument is the taxes are like 50-something% out there in California. So James Franklin's making $7 million a year. If he gets $7 million a year there, half of it goes to taxes. So why would he take the job? So that is some consideration. Me personally, when Cooper was gone, they were talking to Chris Spielman. They were throwing other names out there. And they went to Youngstown State Division III and picked up a guy that won 4 national championships at that level, Tressel, and gave him a shot. That's what I would look for. I would look for a guy that's doesn't have to be a lower level, just a young guy that's hungry, that's a great mind, that wants a chance. Maybe he already lives out there, so he's got good reputations with all the high schools in the area. USC is a brand. And they do have a lot of issues out there. They haven't filled their stadium in a long time, But if you start winning, the fans will come back. You would think they would, but so I think it could still be a great job. But I don't know how long it would take for them to be like Bob. I heard Bobby Carpenter talking to a fan today. The guy was sticking up for USC, hating all the bashers. And Bobby Carpenter was saying, "Hey, Penn State went through the same thing that USC went through: sanctions, losing." The recruits and scholarship players. He goes, but they're back now, and USC all that's been gone for 5 years, and they can't get it right. I think most of that's been bad hires. They just haven't. They've had, and I think their facilities needed upgraded too, which is a big deal with a lot of coaches. They want new facilities and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting.
Well,
but, right down the street, Chip Kelly looks like he's doing pretty good, and he's in the same town. So.
He's a good coach, but one thing that you find out whenever you see these big name coaches, Nick Saban, Ryan Day, Dabo Sweeney, Jimbo Fisher, all these guys, and the biggest thing that they do is they surround themselves with good people,
right.
And more importantly, with good recruiters. I was a little bit surprised. Alabama lost 11 coaches last year. And I was a little bit surprised they were talking about who all they lost. They're like, this guy was their number 1 recruiter. This guy was their number 2 recruiter. This guy was their number 3 recruiter. It's like, whoa, wow, that's really what it's all about. So not only bringing in the right guy, but does the right guy bring the right people with him? Because
right.
I mean, nobody's going to do it. Nobody's going to do it by themselves.
Yep, and actually the guy that replaced Sark, Jim O'Brien, is on the short somewhat list for I don't know if he wants it, but his name's been thrown out for USC, because he was at Penn State, then he went to the NFL, and now he's offensive coordinator for Bama. Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, it would only be fitting that he would leave because it happens every single year.
But yeah, and you win a national championship and you're the OC and they throw a bunch of money at you. I guess your wife's going, yeah, you're taking that job. That's a lot of money. So
yeah, I mean, it's like everybody's watching Alabama to get a coach, and that's
hit the lottery. Get a Bama coach, and of course the Bama coach hits the lottery on the bank check. So absolutely. Mm-hmm. I certainly wouldn't leave, and that's one that kills me. I don't know how Clemson holds on to like their defensive coordinator. He's been really a great coordinator and great recruiter, and I guess he never wants to be a head coach. He's camped out there. I can't remember
Venables.
Venables. Venables.
Last name. Yeah.
You would think that guy's on a big time list, but he ain't gone, and I guess he ain't going anywhere. So he must be one happy camper, which is fine. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, obviously those guys are paid well.
Yeah.
And stepping out into the coaching world, that's a whole new thing. It's going to be interesting to see how Sarkisian does at Texas. I think he was a great offensive coordinator. I think last year he was really amazing. He called some great games. Of course, let's face it, he had a lot of tools to work with. So
embarrassment of riches. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be, but being a head coach, it's a whole different thing. Obviously things didn't work out for him. He was at USC.
Oh,
and, now at Texas, to see how that works out. I mean, they're already squirming in their seats. And he hasn't even had a chance. He hasn't had a chance to do anything. So it'll be interesting.
I heard everybody talking about Arkansas, Texas. I'm thinking. Last week, I'm like, really? Is that really a game to worry about? And that must have been because Arkansas just put.
That's crazy.
I'm like, man, I thought Arkansas was dirt, and so I was like, apparently they were much better than I thought they were because I didn't think Texas was great, but I thought, hey, they'll beat Arkansas. And Didn't happen. And then they're all staying on College Football Frenzy, our favorite Facebook page. They're all just, oh, he's garbage. He's garbage. And they
Yeah.
one game, man. Come on, it's not like he's got Devontae Smith and everybody else.
Well, I mean, it's like you said, these guys, they're not on the field making plays and everything else. So,
right.
I mean, it's just one big package. You got to have that head coach that has a consistent, successful program. He's got to surround himself with good people, and then obviously you got to be able to recruit well. And then the biggest thing, you have to be able to develop those players.
Absolutely, man. There's no doubt about it. And all the coaching tree, your recruiters getting the guys in there, and then you got to develop them. They're 5-star out of high school. That don't mean they're 5-star All-Americans yet. You got to develop. And hats off to Alabama. I think they're one of the best developing teams, in the nation. And there's other teams like when you're getting a lineman from Notre Dame, they're good. Iowa's got good linemen. Wisconsin. There's places where situational positions are known to come. Linebacker U, DBU, stuff like that. But Alabama, it's like if you get any position out of them, especially since Saban's been there, you're probably getting somebody that's really good and definitely NFL material. So they're doing it, man, and it's good for college football if a lot of teams start doing more. This might be the year we're seeing the growth of other teams starting to develop and catch up, which would be great because we'll find out a lot about tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think that at least in the SEC, I think there's 3 or 4 teams that have really closed the gap. I really do. Now they're talking about bringing in Texas and Oklahoma. Which is going to make the pool even bigger. But I think there's a couple of teams like Arkansas is better. Auburn is obviously better. We'll know a little bit more about them tomorrow. I still think it's still out there for LSU. I don't think that's been answered yet. Just the UCLA game didn't answer everything, in my opinion. So there's teams that close. Ole Miss has closed the gap.
I forgot about them. They're in the West too.
Yeah,
I tell you,
they are. So
if there's any division that can lose a non-conference game, it's the SEC, especially the SEC West. Because if you you win the West. You just know you're going to the CFP if you win the conference game, the championship game. Regardless if you lost a non-conference game at UCLA, if LSU runs table and beats Alabama and everybody else, nobody's going to remember the UCLA game because that's going to feel like 100 years ago. So, it's a nice win for UCLA. I hope Chip Kelly's got them on the right track because that just means it's better football later at night. But at LSU, we both know how they recruit. It's insane. As a matter of fact, I'll go on record as saying that, Georgia and even Florida, but Georgia, Alabama, LSU, and Auburn all are in great recruiting schools that might even already be better recruiting than Texas and Oklahoma before they even come in. Recruit.
Yeah, definitely.
Texas, Oklahoma's got good talent, but they are not top to bottom great talent. There's a lot of holes in that team, and it shows when they play against the big teams. But yeah,
of course, and then in the East, it's the last couple of years, and to come, it's Florida and Georgia. It's
right.
I mean, that's all there is. That's what it's going to be. One of those two teams is going to come out of the East. But like I said,
it was not last year, but the year before that. South Carolina shocked Georgia and beat them. Is that 2 years ago?
You're talking about in the East?
Yeah, yes, the Gamecocks. I think that was 2 years ago.
It wasn't that long ago. 1 year, Missouri won that. They had a big name quarterback. And
Chase Daniels.
Missouri won it. Of course, they didn't fare too well. Once it didn't do them any good to win it, but at least with Florida or Georgia, you have a quality team coming out. You're going to see a pretty good game in that SEC championship.
Yeah. I brought up Georgia because they're playing South Carolina tomorrow, and it's not expected to be a great game. But I think on top of that is Georgia owes them for them beating them. Sometime in the last couple of years, it was a early, unexpected win for the Gamecocks against Georgia. It was a shocker.
Yeah,
So,
few 3 years ago, something like
yeah.
that. Yeah, they kind of shocked them.
So yeah, Georgia's not going to be snake bit by the Gamecocks anytime soon after that one. There's no doubt about that. So
that
that,
I don't know if you've watched Georgia or not, but I tell you what,
oh yeah,
that defense, man, they are everywhere, man.
you know what? That honestly, that could be the team that goes undefeated, and it's because their defense will keep them in every game, even if their offense is playing horrible at times. If they can just muster enough to get the victory, they could be in every game. They're going to be heavily favored across the board, probably in most of it, because they play in the East. And the defense is incredible. I mean, I was watching that Clemson game, and I think it's number 99. I don't know what his name is, but I think he's better than every defensive lineman on the Bengals already. That guy was nuts.
Yeah,
that was good football
they're
game.
everywhere. Kirby Smart was a great defensive coordinator, so I mean that's his specialty. So
Yep.
yeah.
Oh, good football, man. Well, but we're about 56 into it, so we can wrap this baby up for tonight. But now I'm pumped, man. I'm ready for some big-time football tomorrow. I'm going to have to watch it on my phone while the game's going on at 3 o'clock. The party. All right, nobody's heard that, right? Oh, yeah. I'll be there for my daughters, paying attention.
Yeah. Sure you will. Just don't ask you a question, right?
Yeah, what time the Auburn? Everybody out by 7 o'clock. Let's go. Let's move it.
Yeah, 7:30 is the deadline.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, good week. Great week of football. We got I think big week of football tomorrow. We'll be talking about a lot of stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how it all falls out, and it's going to be fun to watch. So, thanks for Bruce for chiming in, and Randy as always. Appreciate you being on. I'm glad we got the technical difficulties hopefully figured out and moving forward. So enjoy the games, brother, and we will look for you next week.
Yep. Have a good weekend.
All right, man. Goodbye, everybody.